Yep. Okay, I think we are on the YouTube now. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Academy of Astrology Monthly podcast. And today's focus, we are going to focus on the full moon in the Aries, and also I think we have Mercury going to move into Scorpio. So
Mm.
today with me is Marcus and Mandy. Hello, how are you?
Hello.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Good. Well, I mean, today we all feel a little bit. A little bit different. I think I was a bit under the weather to be honest, because I was just tell Monday before I come, yeah, before I get ready. I was on my sofa for 2 hours. I just feel that
Oh,
headache, and something wasn't right, and I was like, "What's wrong with me?"
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. And I was just like, okay, if today I'm not going to host very well, please forgive me. And maybe we need to keep on tiring so we can have a time to rest. So, well, where should we start? Should we start with this Mercury in Scorpio?
yeah, why
Yeah,
not? 7th
okay,
of
Mandy, tell us.
October.
Yeah, yeah.
7th of October, Mercury moves into Scorpio, and by so doing, moves out of its mutual reception with Venus in Virgo. So we've had a mutual reception between those two, Mercury in Libra and Venus in Virgo. So that kind of comes to an end, and Mercury kind of really changes its energy quite significantly in that move from Libra to Scorpio here. And what really it's an intense sign for Mercury. And what adds to that intensity? Well, there are a number of things that add to that intensity. First of all, it immediately makes a square to Pluto, although Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio. It's also the same day as the full moon, which in and of itself, a full moon in Aries, which is by Mars, which is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. So you can see there's a lot of very intense energy as Mercury moves its signs at the same time as we have a full moon. Full moons always feel, and this one feels like all the cards are on the table, all the cards are in play. And I feel that it's asking us to be strategic and not act without thinking, which I think is a possibly quite good advice for Mercury in Scorpio. As I say, the full moon seems to expose things. We're in the full light of the moon. We can see things for what they are. And Mercury in Scorpio is very incisive and probing, and it wants to see things for what they are. And I'll stop now
Mm,
because it's saying my internet is unstable in case I start to have a Mercury
sure.
burp and let someone else say something.
Don't worry, don't worry. We will cover you. And yeah, so this Mercury moving into Scorpio, there is a thing because when I prepare next week's kind of a weekly astrology, I noticed that that particular theme of Scorpio and the Pluto was pretty strong for next week. And the first we have Mercury moving into Scorpio, and at this moment, first if you use declination, we have Pluto out of bound between, August to November. And then this week, end of this week, something like no, to be honest, the end of next starting from next week, we can consider Pluto is stationary at 1 degree Aquarius 22 second, 22 minutes, sorry, 22 minutes. So I'm kind of falling apart now. It's like 22 minutes. So, and we know that degree, right? Because of 1 degree Aquarius is very close to that great conjunction of 2020. So I wonder
Exactly.
something bigger than what we can expect is kind of, is kind of is, is, is really there. No, what do you think, Marcus, about this Mercury in Scorpio?
I think both what both of you said is really interesting. I was just thinking in terms of what Mandy mentioned, in terms of while Mercury's been in Libra, it's had that very nice mutual reception or generosity with Venus in Virgo. And just to bring it, like Venus obviously isn't super happy in Virgo and is currently conjunct the South Node. So which is a point of release or letting go. So I sort of think that while Mercury's been in Libra, which he still is, Mercury's non-binary, so they still are in Libra right now as we're talking. In that reception with Venus, it's almost like having constructive discussions about letting go of potentially relationships or releasing pleasure-based attachments to things. And that could be very constructive. I think what happens for me, when Mercury moves into Scorpio, it's to me signaling the time for talking and discussing and thinking about this is done. I'm now going to actively start planning my severance from these things. What way am I going to eliminate these attachments? And obviously that can be a little rough, but it enters Scorpio, which, and it's there was, when you said, Mandy, your internet's become unstable and it's almost like I don't want to do the Mercury thing. I thought that's an amazing meta-log for Mercury going from chatty Libra to silent Scorpio, just like, yep, yeah, exactly. So like,
I'm holding my counsel.
Yeah, totally.
That's my
so it goes from like, it's almost like, feels to me like the shift or the trend at that time is from the time for discussing the means in which we could constructively let go of these attachments or relationships or whatever they are is done. And now we're into the executive planning of the separation stage, which is not communicative. This is internal dialogue. This is like, what are the next steps? And with Pluto, it might be, some of that might be, it might move from a more dialectical, let's have a talk about it, to I'm just going to plan this, and sort of, it could be potentially sod you, I'm going to do this on my own kind of thing, because with the square to Pluto and the rulership by Mars. But it doesn't need to be negative. It can be just a shift from, okay, the conversation phase is over and now we're into the planning, the doing phase. If there's any kind of, so you can think about this very constructively. If there's an attachment that you've got to something that you might find pleasurable or once have found pleasurable, that has served its purpose and now perhaps become more of a burden or become something that you need to let go of, this might be in a period where you're thinking about it, maybe talking about it. And then when Mercury moves into Scorpio, it's like, let's plan how to actually execute this. Let's get this out of our life.
Well, it's interesting that there has been peace proposals, hasn't there? Donald Trump has entered into peace proposals to try and resolve some of the
well, that could go either way, couldn't it?
Between Israel and Gaza. Yes. And we're still waiting for that to have an answer on that. Yeah. And maybe we will find out a little bit more whether that is going to work when Mercury goes into Scorpio. As I said, it's like with that full moon at the same time, and with that Pluto there as well in Aquarius, which is about a lot of things, but it's about sort of equality. Is one of the things that Pluto in Aquarius is exposing where there isn't equality, because Pluto exposes things that we need to see so that we can fix them and heal them, transform them. And I think we might see, like I said, all the cards are not just on the table.
Exposed. Some of them are exposed. Be a poker game, but the hand is exposed. Yes, exposed,
revealed. Show your cards. That's my thinking behind that.
I love that, Mandy.
And I think if it doesn't make an immediate connection to the Saturn Neptune ongoing conjunction, but in the background of that, for all of us in the world events that we're seeing, but also in some of our personal lives, it's this dealing with uncertainty. And Scorpio likes nothing better than the certainty that comes with being in control. So that might feel quite uncomfortable when that feeling that the sands are shifting beneath us. The sands aren't stable. The rocks and the foundations are sort of crumbling a little bit. Maybe in our lives, maybe in our world as we watch news events. But I think the invitation here is to rebuild, to dream a new dream, to dream a better dream, to be imaginative about how we can build a better world for ourselves individually, but also for the world. So I'm just trying to find some. I know Mercury in Scorpio, it's short-lived, although we are having a longer period of Mercury in Scorpio. It goes into Sagittarius towards the end of October,
Yeah.
and eventually it goes retrograde back through the early-ish degrees of Sagittarius and goes back into Scorpio. So we'll have a second chance in, I think, November-ish, a little bit more of that Mercury in Scorpio, so we can look at things that happen this month after the 7th, and then we can maybe see those repeating themselves and coming to be redone or reviewed next month as well, towards the end of next month or so.
Or like come back to bite you.
Or come back to bite you, and then when you take into account, and then
I love that, Mandy, because also, as you pointed out, there's Saturn, Neptune, sort of they're in fairly close proximity, and obviously that Mercury, as it goes from the end of Scorpio into Sag and then back again, will be tying the two together, won't it, with those trines? So exactly as you were saying, it's really bringing out those themes. So it's just interesting when you're saying about the sort of peace negotiations and stuff, it sort of, this is one that could go either way. It's either, I think, with the Mercury in Scorpio square Pluto ruled by that strong Mars, the issue with it could be you are emotionally attached to a fixed negative way of thinking about something. Like you've got some anger or some fixed desire that you're attached to in the, or that a person, or that collectively we might be attached to in a way we're thinking about something, and the square to Pluto is going to expose that. The positive potential is that there's an opportunity here to cut that away, to surgically to move that. As you were saying, Mandy, the full moon is a time of revealing things. So whatever poker hand that is being played, perhaps one that you are holding, or perhaps one that is being played against you, may be revealed. And I think that hand, as you were alluding to, Mandy, might be to do with sort of fixed emotional patterns of thought. So there's both a negative and a positive, as always, a potential with this, in that it might be revealing that. I'm not sure quite how to tie that into Mercury's applying trine eventually to Saturn and Neptune, but it may be just that perhaps those thoughts are, as you were saying, Mandy, something to do with our reactions to the uncertainty of the times.
And it's good, I think, also for revealing hidden motivations as well. Our own hidden motivations, but the hidden motivations of others and situations. And you were just talking about the strong sort of Mars energy, and we've already talked about this full moon on the 7th. It's an Aries full moon, so it's a Mars ruled full moon. So we've got a lot of Mars, Scorpio, Pluto energy all kind of rolling around, certainly in the after the 7th of October for a few days. And the full moon, although it only lasts, it's a short-lived thing, and it's not an eclipsed full moon, thank goodness, but it does set the tone for the days and the weeks to come. So I think it's going to be quite an important. I get the sense, I get the feeling, I get the intuition that this full moon time, with everything else that's going on, is going to be quite important.
Do I put down full moon chart so we can?
Yeah, let's have a look.
Yeah, let's have a look. Here is the full moon chart, and we have a sun in 14-degree Libra and the moon at 14-degree Aries. And if we set them in London, well, interesting, Venus is angular, and the one thing when I look at this chart is one thing very weirdly, I feel like Sun and Moon doesn't want to have much things to do with other planets.
Yeah. You're right. It doesn't really. It's not making any major aspects, is it? Except with each other, which is really interesting. Yeah, it's kind of like a bit rogue, isn't it? A rogue full moon. Oh dear. Mars in Scorpio. Mars in Scorpio is very strategic, isn't it? Again, it's about, we can use that Mars in Scorpio to be strategic rather than to sort of rush headlong into something to make changes. So that can be used quite well. It's looking like that Mars in Scorpio isn't really making any aspects, although there will be a conjunction to Mercury
Yeah,
coming up,
later.
but it doesn't look
Yeah.
like it's got anything else going on with it. So it's kind of like a bit of a wild Mars in Scorpio.
Mm.
Interesting.
What do you think, Marcus?
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think it is interesting that the cardinal full moon in Aries is kind of emotionally quite labile. It's quite volatile, isn't it?
Mm.
But as you were saying, Mandy, that rulership of Mars traditionally Scorpio was the sign that had. It's the only sign that I think it's Abu Mashar described as having each of the signs, not all of the signs had a mastery, but some of the signs had a mastery. And Scorpio was master of cares, meaning master of, in a sense, emotions, master of worries, master of anxieties. And Mars in Scorpio has that great potential because it's so strong in Scorpio to be the master of emotions, to be a master of cares. So we've got some quite volatile emotions emerging here, but the root Mercury's in Mars's domain. Mars rules Scorpio. There's a potential for mastering one's emotions here, even though one's emotions might be a bit volatile. And I do like Mars's applying trine. Obviously, it's very wide at this time, but it is applying in a trine to that Jupiter in Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Mars will reject Jupiter to some degree because Jupiter's in Cancer and Mars doesn't like things coming from Cancer because it's in falling Cancer. So it might be like whatever gifts Jupiter is offering Mars, even by trine in a very friendly manner, Mars might go, oh, I'm not sure I want that. Thank you very much. But it does, to me, that speaks of a potential for whatever is revealed, whatever poker hand is revealed, whatever emotions that stirs up around the full moon, whatever collective shift of discourse and tone, perhaps away from constructively discussing letting go of attachments and into we're not talking about this anymore. There is a potential for mastering the emotions and the turbulence and for acquiring a more peaceful resolution, even if that peaceful resolution is partially rejected. Do you know what I mean? That seems to be what. And so I'm not making a world prediction on the basis of this one full moon, but this is the kind of vibe around this full moon. It looks like for everybody in general.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really like that about mastering the emotions for Scorpio. I think that's a huge part of the purpose of the sign of Scorpio. So I love that you brought that up, and also it's linked in traditional text as well. I think that's fantastic. I'd like to add to that that Venus goes into Libra on the 14th, where a sign where it's very strong, of course, where it's it's a sign of its rulership, or is it? Would you say domicile in
Same diff, yeah.
domicile? It's at home, basically.
Yes, yeah. You would say
in
domicile. You
Libra.
absolutely would, but yeah, I mean the same. Yeah.
So that puts everything that you've just said, Marcus, that all that wonderful stuff that you said about Mars in Scorpio and with Jupiter coming in, when we add in on the 14th, Venus going into Libra, it really puts that focus on partnerships, relationships, alliances as well, and allegiances. But also, I feel it puts us in the energy of working better with people who we might think of our adversaries as well. It's good for that, I think, Venus in Libra as well, because it wants balance and fairness. And so, like you said, there's I think you alluded to it, Marcus, perhaps there is a little bit of renewed hope for peaceful outcomes to situations based on the ability for strong communication, deep integrity, and a very good strategy that's not kind of just reactive, plan,
Yeah.
not reactive. And a compromise is for the higher good, because I think with Libra, there's always that compromise that's required for you can't please all the people all of the time, but you need to negotiate and compromise, which means there's always some some aspect where some sides of, if we're talking about any kind of partnership, relationship, or even situation, something kind of has to give really for things to be able to move on. Mercury in Scorpio might block that a little bit because of the perhaps the nature, the fixed nature of Scorpio, but we are going to get another chance, as I said, later on in the year to sort of redo things if necessary, if it doesn't go right the first time around.
Yeah. Well, I want to echo what Mandy said about this Venus move into Libra, because one thing is pretty beautiful is that yes, when Venus move into the Libra, it will look like firstly going to opposite Saturn and the Neptune. But again, it's like this year, everything come to this degree is going to turn that small tribe into the kite.
Mm,
And so there is a kind of a little bit tiny bit change when Venus moving to Libra. That would be, that what we can wait and see, that would be quite interesting.
mm,
Yeah. Well, another things I would like to offer here, that's two things. Sorry, two things. One is this is a super full moon. So this year we will have three super full moon in the end of the year. So from beginning from October, we have this 7th of October super full moon. The biggest one should be, strictly speaking, the biggest one or the real super full moon is on the 5th of November. And that would be like moon and around the 15 degree or 14 degree of Taurus, around a similar degree. And then we will have the December is another super form. That was because the moon is pretty close to, perihelion, not perihelion, perigee, moon, no,
Perigee.
perigee. So that moon is slightly bigger, and that's so this is one of the three super full moon. And usually moon is one of the perigee. To be honest, for the financial astrology study, people get quite emotional, quite agitated. So let's wait and see. The one thing, another thing you already see, I put fixed star here. We have the moon is very, very close to a fixed star in Andromeda called Alpheus. This is the head of Andromeda. But instead of say it has like a quality of Andromeda feminine quality, we prefer, most of astrology agree, it act more like part of a Pegasus. When you talk about these stars, you usually think of Pegasus rather than think of Andromeda. Well, Ptolemy give it I think, Jupiter and the Venus nature quite beautifully, but the interpretation is usually love, freedom, independent. So I think when we're talking about this month, everything is kind of, it's turned out unexpectedly. Well, at least it set us free. Like this, Aries full moon, you have to be okay. This is the things I'm not as expected. Now I have to, move on, and I'm free from all these, things I don't like. Then I just like, okay, I deal with my own self. Just go for it. That would be like an interesting interpretation for this fixed star, because it's like act independently and set it free, get freedom from something old. So this is another way to see this situation.
That's really interesting. That's
Yeah,
really interesting, Rod. And just a couple of, I mean, very minor extra points on this,
yeah,
but really just to ice the cake that we've baked so far, or add a bit more icing. I don't know. Maybe take some off, whatever. We've got the Venus, as you said, applying to oppose Saturn. So that for this bit, just for the full moon, with
yeah,
the poker hand being revealed, and perhaps
yeah,
some strong emotions emerging, yada yada, and perhaps, as you say, Rod, the opportunity to be set free or something. I do feel this full moon is a time when it's sort of like that some pleasures or some potential peace deals might be blocked. Some pleasures might have to be let go of, or that Venus opposing Saturn's not fun, and then Venus with the South Node opposing Saturn is double
mm-hmm.
not fun, in the sense that it's like you have to let go of something which is also being simultaneously impeded, or there is this, but I think everything we've talked about so far is like around this full moon. It's like there's this something needs to be cut off or let go of after having this period of discussion. And then to what you guys were saying about after that opposition to Saturn, after this full moon, after this period of like difficulty when the strong emotional stuff comes up and there's this sense of we need to get free of this and this thing that we need to let go of, we can't, or whatever. There's some stuckness, oddly enough, for a cardinal full moon emerging here. After that, I think, is when as you said, Mandy, when Venus goes into Libra, and then suddenly we can talk about it. And I love what you said, Rod, about it making the trine immediately to both Pluto and Uranus. It might be this sudden aha, we can now talk about this in a totally new way. It's almost like this little full moon. And it's so fast. I didn't realize this was a super moon. The fact that it's so big in the sky is pointing to yes, it's not an eclipse, but it does feel like a bit of a watershed in a way. This is like, and it's sort of letting go of maybe it's letting go at some previous method of attempting a peace process. It's like all these previous ways we've tried to talk about and discuss peace are not working. Maybe these two previous approaches are now redundant, and enough people have revealed the stuckness in their thinking about certain things that we now need to cut through this and find a new way. And it's after this intense everything comes out period that suddenly that shift can happen, perhaps.
Totally. There's definitely the potential there, or the seed of the potential of possible breakthroughs. Particularly when that Venus forms the apex of that kite, whatever the focus is always on the apex of a kite. And I know it's short-lived, but it have a longer lasting effect because it ties into all those outer planets, that Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto. And in a sense, that apex, particularly because it's strong, that Venus will be in Libra by then, and so it's strong in its own sign, it has a little bit of power to trigger, perhaps potentially, if we cross our fingers and toes, to trigger some of the potentials, more positive potentials of this. I mean, we're learning to live with this Jupiter, this Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto. It's been with us, and it's only going to get more and more intense. It's going to be exact in February next year, and then in July we're going to have Jupiter in Leo joining it as well. So we're living with it for a long time. So I think it's worthwhile looking for these faster moving planets that are going to be throughout the next 6 months or longer. Whenever a faster moving planet and a lunation hits the apex of that configuration and
just
causes
activates it.
Yeah, you've already said, Rod, haven't you, that anything at that point is quite powerful. And I think it is productive. It can be productive of outcomes and resolutions, possibly with Venus in Libra, because it's strong in Libra and it's a good sign for Libra. We shall see. We can just kind of monitor it and see what happens. You never know.
There was one final point I forgot to make this, and it's a very minor point. When Venus goes into Libra, she also gets a new generosity or mutual reception, which is with that Saturn in Pisces. Saturn in Pisces is in Venus's exaltation. Venus in Libra is in Saturn's exaltation. So there's a positive resonance with that retrograde Saturn in Pisces that's causing leaky emotional boundaries, a lot of return of perhaps emotional issues that people have been having over the past year or so, just any issues associated with compassion fatigue. I always think of Saturn in Pisces, and just with the Venus in Libra, it's sort of opening that up to discussion and potentially softening it a bit. So it's just exactly as you guys were just saying, but just another angle to affirm that, I think.
Definitely. Well, okay. Thank you, Marcus and Mandy, joining us. Today I decided to, finish this podcast earlier, not because I feel unwell, because we all pretty busy this moment. Because Marcus, tomorrow, what are you doing tomorrow?
I'm just teaching all day. I'm teaching students physically.
In particular, you have a webinar, right, coming up?
Yes, in the evening. Yeah.
Could you tell us?
Thank you. Oh, bless you.
No.
a live webinar at Kepler. It's free, so that'll be, I don't know when this is coming up, but that'll be Saturday, the 4th of October. I think it's 7 p. I should know. I think it's about 7 p.m., maybe 7:30 p.m., but it's on
Yeah,
Kepler's website, Kepler College USA, and it's a live webinar. It's on their YouTube channel, and I'll be talking
mm.
about crisis charts in astrology.
And
So
that is a very
mm.
interesting topic. I love this technique when Marcus brought up. This is so interesting. I encourage everyone go to listen that one.
Oh, bless you.
And
Thank you.
also Monday, I think next week is on you, right? You with the
Uh,
Brighton group.
15th of October, I'm doing
Yeah,
an online talk for the Brighton Astrology Group. It's open to absolutely anyone, anywhere in the world. So the Brighton Astrology Circle, look them up on the internet, and I'm going to put the link on all my socials anyway.
yeah.
And it's finding purpose in our challenging aspects. I'm talking
That
through the
sounds
methods that I in particular use when I look at challenging aspects in chart
beautiful.
science. So it's going to be it's going to be quite fun, I think, and
Yeah,
interesting. Hopefully,
definitely.
I hope so.
Oh,
Amazing.
definitely. I'm
And
sure.
you've got a webinar. You're hosting a
Yes.
webinar this weekend, aren't you?
Yeah. Two things. Sorry, I have a big one. Well, two things. First thing is I'm ready to close the registration for the Tanya Daniels webinar of the octopus chart. It's very
Ooh.
interesting to read that name. I always have to be very careful. Is that octopus chart? To
Um,
be honest, I heard about Tanya talking about this technique for a long time, and it was really until like last year when I working with the comet, and then when I studied Kepler's record about comet, I saw that eight house thing. I was like, wait a minute, this is not 12 house. This is like eight house square, and I just, oh my God, I have to ask her. Tanya. Then Tanya just like explained, and I was like, "This is so interesting. We definitely need to have her to give us a little bit, presentation about this technique, especially is in ancient way. Kepler used it to kind of weather forecast, kind of like what do we say the weather forecasting. So
mm.
tomorrow, 4 p.m. UK time, we are going to have a Tanya Daniel talking about the octopus chart, and then please, if you haven't registered yet, well, it is the last couple hours you can do that. But the most important is here. I'm so excited to going to announce that our Academy of Astrology Online Conference 2025 going to be at from 5th of December to 7th of December this year. We have, of course, Marcus and Monday, but plus we our dear teacher Sue Tompkins, Lynn Bell. Well, Hakan is going to talk about zodiac releasing. Going to be very interesting. And Marcus is going to talk about primary direction, but on the
Yeah.
technique side, right? On technique side. And I think Monday is going to talking about this Neptune, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus and Pluto configuration, right? From the
And
mountain.
more generally about that, but more generally about endings and new beginnings.
Oh, that's beautiful because we are here, and then it's like today. It's like today's full moon chart too. There is the Venus in Virgo with South Node. That is a kind of a letting go thingy, and we are just there. Ooh. So we have a lot of friends joining us: Christine Skinner, Alia McCafferty, Kina Yassin, and Alejo Lopez Saffron, and then also my friend Geraldine will join us. So, well, the pre-launch price is half price, only £60. Really, you have to grab this chance, okay? So I'm looking forward to see everyone to join us at the Academy of Astrology Online Conference this year. I'm really looking forward to see everyone. Okay, next week we will have our mundane astrology discussion, and I think after that I'm probably going to talk about comet because we have another comet coming up. So this month we are going to talk about three comets. The one comet we can see, but the interstellar one, and quite intriguing because people keep talking about it's an alien ship.
Ah,
I say let's keep
Um,
open-minded. Let's keep open-minded
you
because
should
hey,
be so lucky.
I know,
we have
right? Well, it depends what.
we have
Maybe
a
they
Pluto
are.
we have a Pluto in Aquarius. We have Pluto in Aquarius. No, never say never. Okay. All right. Now we have two comets suddenly one comet suddenly become visible is the comet Swan. In the beginning, we are not expecting it could be visible, but suddenly it get brighter and brighter, and its orbit is right opposite to that interstellar comet, so it go this way,
Wow.
parallel with ecliptic. I
Wow.
just like that is interesting. That is really interesting. And then another one is called Comet Atlas, is coming up from the northern part of sky, coming down to zodiac.
Wow.
So very interesting. So I'm going to talk about after the I think on the week of the what is that week? On the week of the 17th, around that time. Okay. So happy to
Talking
see
of,
everyone.
before you start talking
Yep.
of comets, Rod, I've just finished reading your book, Comets in Astrology.
Ah,
Rod Chang,
thank
your
you.
new book. Guys, if you're
Fantastic.
interested in comets and learning
Thank
about,
you.
it's
Okay.
brilliant. It's brilliant. There is, there is.
It is. I'm still making copious notes. I'm still around. I've just finished the chapter on the near the beginning, actually, just on the modern meanings of comets in astrology. I've taken,
Oh,
so I'm just making copious notes actually as we're going through.
thank
So
you. Well, okay then. Well, thanks everyone for your support, and then see you next week. Bye bye.
brilliant. Bye
Bye.
guys. Bye everyone.
Bye.